If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns are shaking up their quarterback plans, and one name is suddenly on everyone's lips. SHEDUER Sanders, drafted 144th overall in the 5th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Sanders came into OTA letters with more questions than answers. Once projected as a first-round pick due to his time at Colorado under the bright lights of Coach Prime system, Sanders' slide to day 3 had fans and analysts scratching their heads. Many assumed he'd be little more than a long-term project, someone who might ride the bench for a season or to behind veteran names like Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, but what's unfolding in Cleveland right now is anything but ordinary. Sanders didn't just show up to practice, he made sure everyone knew exactly why the Browns took a shot on him. And now, the front office is reportedly on the verge of making a bold move that could change the QB dynamics for the Browns not only in 2025, but well into the future. It all started quietly. Sanders entered OTA letters without much fanfare, sharing reps with seasoned vets like Flacco and the recently acquired Pickett, as well as fellow rookie Dillon Gabriel. Expectations were tempered. No one thought he'd steal headlines, but from the first day of drills, it was clear Sanders wasn't just there to learn, he was there to compete. His pocket presence, decision-making, and arm strength quickly silenced critics. Most importantly, he didn't look like a rookie, he looked like a quarterback who belonged. On June 4th, he completed 9 of 14 passes with 3 touchdowns and a single interception during team drills. These aren't mind-blowing stats on paper, but on the practice field, they told a story. Sanders was calm under pressure, quick with reads, and already forming chemistry with receivers. And perhaps most importantly, he wasn't afraid to take chances, and those chances paid off. For a team that spent the past few seasons dealing with quarterback inconsistency and injury woes, the idea of a young, affordable, and fearless quarterback is more than enticing, it's potentially franchise-altering. According to Cleveland.com single quotes S. Mary Kay Cabot, the Browns coaching staff was impressed enough to start entertaining a scenario in which Sanders remains with the team alongside all 3 other quarterbacks throughout training camp and into the season. That's not a normal roster configuration. Most NFL teams carry 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks, but the Browns are thinking outside the box, straddling 2 objectives: winning now and preparing for what's next. Thanks to the low salaries and manageable cap hits of all for quarterbacks, they're not financially handcuffed by the idea, and from a development standpoint, having multiple options may offer more flexibility than it does confusion. Mary Kay Cabot pointed out something deeper here. The Browns are walking a fine line between trying to compete for a playoff spot in 2025 and planning strategically for 2026. Remember, they've got the first-round picks in 2026 thanks to a blockbuster trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and if those picks fall into the top 10, Cleveland will be sitting on a gold mine of draft capital. That opens a whole new world of possibilities. Do they draft another quarterback if Sanders falters? Or do they invest heavily in weapons and protection if he proves to be the real deal? Keeping all 4 quarterbacks on the roster, at least temporarily, gives the front office breathing room to evaluate every scenario. And while it may seem unconventional, this kind of roster creativity could be exactly what the Browns need to build long-term stability. And what about the fans? If you scroll through Browns' social media circles, it's clear that the city is starting to buy in. Sanders isn't just a novelty act anymore. His swagger, his accuracy, his leadership, they're all starting to resonate. Some fans are even calling for him to be named the starter right now. That's a long shot, of course. Flacco's veteran poise and Pickett's familiarity with NFL systems still put them a step ahead in terms of immediate readiness. But in the NFL, momentum is everything, and right now, SHEDUER Sanders is riding a wave that no one saw coming. If he keeps up this pace in training camp and the preseason, there's a very real possibility that he could leapfrog both Pickett and Flacco on the depth chart by August. That's not hype, that's just where the trajectory is headed. It's important to remember how rare this kind of rise is. A 5th-round quarterback rarely makes headlines during OTA letters. Even more rarely do they get consideration for a serious roster spot, let alone as a potential starter. But Sanders isn't your typical rookie. His experience in a high-pressure program like Colorado's, playing for a father who happens to be one of the most charismatic and demanding figures in football, has shaped him into a uniquely prepared young quarterback. That background has helped him thrive where others might crumble. And that's exactly what the Browns are seeing now, a player who may have been overlooked by other teams, but who fits perfectly into Cleveland's evolving identity. This whole situation also says something about Cleveland's new approach to team building. Instead of playing it safe, they're taking calculated risks. They're not looking for a cookie-cutter quarterback room. They want variety, upside, and most of all, competition. That culture shift is already paying dividends. Sanders pushing Flacco and Pickett means nobody's coasting through training camp. Every rep matters, every snap is a battle, and that energy is contagious. It's a sign that the Browns are done playing from behind. They're building a roster designed to challenge from the jump, and that means every player, from veterans to rookies, has to earn their place every single day. Don't underestimate how big this could be if Sanders actually ends up starting. It's not just a cool storyline, it could reshape the AFC North. While the Bengals ride with Burrow and the Ravens with Lamar, the Browns may suddenly have their own homegrown star, drafted late but developed with precision. Sanders gives them something they haven't had in years: hope and surprise. He has the tools to scramble, the patience to sit in the pocket, and the vision to dissect defenses. Those traits don't always show up in the box score, but on film and in practice. They're making coaches take notice, and those little things could be the difference between another average year and a playoff run. Of course, it's still early. One good week of OTA letters doesn't make a career, and there's a long way to go before the regular season kicks off. But the fact that Sanders is even in this conversation already proves he's exceeded expectations. The real test will come during preseason games, when the lights are on, the hits are real, and defenses aren't holding back. That's when we'll really see what Sanders is made of. But right now, the buzz is impossible to ignore. Cleveland has seen enough to know that they might have something special, and they're not about to let him slip away. For a team long starved for consistency at the quarterback position, SHEDUER Sanders may just be the answer they've been waiting for. So as we head into summer, the Browns' quarterback room is suddenly the most intriguing in the NFL, not because of big contracts or flashy free agents, but because a fifth-round pick from Colorado walked into the building and started changing minds. Whether or not SHEDUER Sanders ends up starting week 1 doesn't matter as much as what he's already accomplished. He's forced a respected coaching staff to rethink their depth chart. He's made fans believe in possibility again, and maybe, just maybe, he's started writing the first chapter of a legacy in Cleveland. Keep your eyes on this one, because if the Browns do decide to make that huge call on Sanders, the rest of the league will be forced to take notice. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. There's a storm quietly brewing in Cleveland, and while it hasn't reached the front pages just yet, if you listen closely around the league, the whispers are getting louder. One of the Browns' most respected veterans, BITONIO, is reportedly stirring the pot with a comment that's already lighting up locker room chatter. The Pro Bowl guard, one of the few remaining pillars of consistency in a franchise known for its chaos, allegedly dropped a line in a private conversation that's now spilling into public view. "I don't want to play with SHEDUER Sanders." Yeah, you heard that right. Not "I don't know if he's ready," not "we'll see how it goes," but straight up, "I don't want to play with him." If that's true, folks, we might be looking at one of the first real rifts in what was supposed to be a new era of optimism for the Browns. Now, for anyone who's been paying attention, SHEDUER Sanders has been one of the most talked about names coming into the NFL. The son of the legendary Deion Sanders, SHEDUER's college career at Colorado was under the spotlight from day one. Flashy plays, big arm, high confidence, some even say cocky, but you can't deny the kid has swagger. And in a league that feeds off personality as much as performance, SHEDUER brings both in spades. But with that comes expectations and sometimes tension. Veterans in the league aren't always quick to embrace young guns who arrive with more headlines than reps. So when a guy like BITONIO, who's battled in the trenches for years, reportedly says he's not on board, that's not just a random quote, it's a potential warning shot. Let's be clear, there's no official confirmation from the Browns or from BITONIO himself. This isn't a press conference moment. It's locker room buzz, whispers from insiders, and maybe a little lip reading from sideline footage. But in the NFL, where smoke usually means fire, this kind of talk doesn't come out of nowhere. BITONIO is known for being a leader, a guy who keeps the team grounded. If he's uncomfortable with the idea of SHEDUER stepping in as QB1, it raises Questions not just about SHEDUER's fit, but about how the entire locker room will respond. Chemistry matters, and if your offensive line isn't fully behind the quarterback, that's a recipe for disaster. Some sources close to the team suggest this might be about more than just personality. BITONIO, approaching the twilight of his career, is laser-focused on winning now. He's seen too many seasons wasted. Too many quarterbacks come and go if he thinks SHEDUER isn't ready, or worse, that the kid's focus is split between football and fame. He might see it as a threat to the team's chances. And he wouldn't be the only one. The Browns have a core that's tired of being a punchline. They want results, not reality show energy, whether that's fair to SHEDUER or not. That's the perception BITONIO could be voicing, and perception in an NFL locker room is everything. But here's where things get spicy. Others in the Browns organization are reportedly excited about SHEDUER. There's talk that some of the younger players are fully bought in, that they see Sanders as a fresh start. His charisma, his leadership style, it clicks with a different generation of players. That could set up a fascinating internal divide. The veterans who are skeptical, and the young guns who are all in. In that context, BITONIO's alleged comment isn't just a personal opinion. It could be the opening shot in a battle for the locker room. And if you know anything about NFL dynamics, once a locker room splits, it's hard to put the pieces back together. Meanwhile, Deion Sanders, never one to shy away from the spotlight, hasn't commented publicly on the rumors, but anyone who follows Prime knows how protective he is of his son. If this story gains traction, don't be surprised if we see a subtle clap back, whether it's on social media or in one of his signature interviews. Deion knows how to control the narrative, and if someone is trying to paint SHEDUER as a locker room problem, you better believe he'll come swinging. That's another layer of potential drama here. This isn't just about a rookie quarterback and a veteran lineman. This is about legacy, image, and the weight of expectation that comes with the Sanders name. So where does that leave the Browns? In a precarious position, no doubt. On one hand, they have a young, marketable quarterback who could be the face of the franchise for the next decade. On the other, they have veteran leaders who may not be sold on the direction the team is headed. That's the kind of internal friction that can either galvanize a team or tear it apart. And the front office will have to make some tough calls. Do they double down on the youth movement and risk alienating their core vets? Or do they side with experience and potentially stall what could be a dynamic new era? For now, everything remains under wraps publicly. No official statements, no team meetings leaked, no fiery Instagram posts yet, but that doesn't mean the tension isn't real. The NFL is a league built on narratives, and the BITONIO SHEDUER whisper is starting to snowball. If the Browns struggle early in the season, this quote could come roaring back into the spotlight. Every sack, every missed throw, every moment of miscommunication will be magnified under the lens of, is this what BITONIO was talking about? And once that narrative sets in, it's nearly impossible to shake. Of course, there's always the possibility this is being overblown. Maybe BITONIO's words were taken out of context. Maybe it was a moment of frustration, or just a joke that landed the wrong way. But in today's NFL, where every word becomes a headline and every quote a storyline, even a whisper can become a roar. And if there's even a shred of truth to the idea that a respected veteran like BITONIO doesn't want to line up next to SHEDUER, that's a storyline worth watching closely. Because it's not just about personalities, it's about trust, cohesion, belief in the guy who touches the ball every play. One thing's for sure, the Browns can't afford another lost season. They've spent years building this roster, loading up on talent, stabilizing the coaching staff. Everything was supposed to be lining up, but if the rumors are true, and if there's already internal unrest before the games even start, then Cleveland might once again be its own worst enemy. Keep your ears open. Browns fans, this story is far from over. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!